Hey, thanks for hanging out with us. Let me say to the room, morning studio.
Morning.
Amy, how are you?
Good. You?
Good. Weird. It's always weird to come in.
Yeah.
First break of the show, and the weekend's been nutty with the protests haven't been nutty, but when it turned ugly, it got pretty nutty with the riots started happening. I tell you, and I'll just say this about me personally before we get into what happened this weekend. I didn't watch a lot of it Friday afternoon, even Saturday. Just as an update, I went back to the doctor, got a call from my doctor, got some results that weren't that good about my brain. So I spent a lot of that day not even that dialed in. So until Saturday night, for the most part, I really didn't catch a lot of it. I watched a bunch of it Saturday night. Then wrote a message on Instagram Sunday morning, and then people were like, "Why didn't you respond sooner?" And I was going to be like, well, I got some not so fortunate medical news, but then I just didn't, it's just like you can't fight with folks.
That's why the internet or our platform and people listening, they don't know every part of our lives. They don't know every single thing we're processing and going through. And so because I got messages too, and to be attacked for when we choose to say something that we have on our minds or in our hearts is really bizarre to me. Why not just be like, okay, wow, like, thank you for sharing what you have to say on this matter, instead of instantly being like, y'all should do this sooner, or this is what's important. We have stuff going, like, I would say for me last week, you had health issues happening. I would say Wednesday, Thursday of last week, I had the hardest 2 days as a parent ever that I won't disclose, but there's so much people are processing in the world that why would people feel the need to attack us for when we feel the time is right to make some sort of a statement?
Well, and I won't, probably today, I won't say anything else because listen, I'm not the victim here. I'm just having some medical issues. It's not happening like I had hoped. And I'm a little worried, a little scared, but that's not even what we're talking about. My only point was I didn't post about it till Sunday morning because I really wasn't completely dialed in until Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. And I just didn't have the capacity. I was a bit in shock at what I was seeing in a wonderful way, and then in a way that made me anxious at the end.
Right.
Because it's the right message. It's absolutely the right message. I've said, not even just about this, I love protests. Love it. It's people galvanizing for a single voice. And I think the protest is absolutely right and justified. You and I were talking off the air before the show, and I had just mentioned it. I was like, hey, I was watching the riots, and I was like, oh, I hate that I even thought of that as riots. I wish I would have thought of it as protests. But
because there were peaceful protests happening all over the place.
We watched it. We all watched it at some point. I mean, we as in you listening right now. We all watched. We all felt. Again, and I think the protest is just and right. And it's when people start to get hurt or damage property. For me, that's where I struggle and go, all right, this is a whole different thing that I'm not comfortable with. And then I got really anxious, and then I was already not in a good place because of whatever, I'd been told, and I just kind of turned it off. Mostly that's not me. I'm all in and going to watch. But I don't really know how to feel. I wish I had the words to articulate exactly how I feel after watching all the events transpire over Saturday afternoon, yesterday, up until today. I was working at the Grand Ole Opry on Saturday night. I was listening to the news, and then we got there, and they were like, hey, we got to move your cars in case protesters come here. And I was like, oh, wow. That's really when I first started to go, oh, well, this is turning a little crazier than I thought. Because I had some friends that went to the protest here, and it was peaceful. And they came back, and they said, hey, it was great. People had masks on. People were standing together. They felt very unified, but it was when it started to get a little darker, is when things got a little unsafe and nuttier. But, I wrote on my Instagram about how I grew up in a school that wasn't all white people. It was white people and black people. That's about it. But, our athletic teams would go to other schools, and everywhere we would go, for the most part, you would have people yelling racial slurs at our team. Now, not at me. I was a white guy. But even on the field, they would get on. They wouldn't know us. And they would just yell the N-word at the players on my team. And I just remember it going, God dang, man, we don't even know them. And they're already assigning a negative thought on this person who is my teammate and my friend based on something they had no control over whatsoever. And also, I was always confused at how someone would feel superior based on something they had no control over. Meaning, how can you feel that someone is lesser than you when you were just born into that skin, both of you? I never understood that. But I wrote about that on Instagram yesterday, and it's something that's never left me, obviously. But I also realized, too, that I don't know what it feels like to have my skin color used against me. I can try to empathize. I can't really empathize. I can try to sympathize. I have no idea. And that's why I think these protests, that's why I think that the reason they're happening is a really wonderful and beautiful thing. You're up. I heard you take a breath, so
I know. I take a breath because I'm just so. I'm processing so much as a white, privileged mom of two kids that will have very different experiences than me. And
well, for our new listeners, Amy has 2 black children, by the way.
Yes, I adopted 2 kids from Haiti. And that's been ever since we've been open to interracial adoption. I don't know, going back 10 years ago, we took special training where we were told this was going to be a thing we needed to be prepared for. And, I sat with that and I knew it's something we had to prepare our kids for, but they've been here 2 years. And honestly, we've just had small little conversations, but this has opened up the door to where it's time. I've got a 9-year-old son and a 13-year-old daughter, and it's time to have those real conversations. And I don't feel as equipped as I want to, but I'm open to learning, and everything the past several days has made me realize like I have a lot of work to do, and I have to take it seriously and know that I need to, like you said, Bobby, we won't know how anybody else is feeling. We'll never know how it feels, but I want to stand with the people that are feeling that. And I want to, empathize, and I want to be there, and I want to be educated, and I want to unlearn some stuff, and I want to be better. And I think that that's what this is showing us is we can stand up for what's right, and hopefully in a peaceful manner.
Yeah. So, they're never, and I said this yesterday, there aren't ever the right words to say.
Mm-mm.
So people can pick apart everything we just said.
And they will.
And that's fine with us. We come on and try to share our emotions when we have them and why we have them. And we try to share them with you in the most honest way. And then we go from there. And it was a real eye-opening weekend. I think one of the most eye-opening weekends that I've ever seen.
Right, because we've been here before.
Yeah.
But something is different this time.
Yep.
And for the better. And we for me personally, I feel it more than ever towards my kids. Like I said, I've known it for 10 years of what I was going to need to do if I had black children as a parent. But I'm the first to admit, like, I have kind of just put it in my back pocket. And after this weekend, whatever it is, something's different, and I have to be different, and I have to be better, and I'm going to be.
And I grew up in a town of about 750 people, and half the town's white, half the town's black. There's a railroad track that still separates, for the most part, to this day, the two communities. And so I've been very close to seeing discrimination, but I've never been the victim of it, and there's absolutely a difference.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen enough to upset and irritate me, but I've never had it happen to me to where at my core it's affected me. And so, my goal is to be as closely and closer, to be as closely touched as I possibly can. Because I just will never feel it. I can't. And that's what sucks. I wish, sometimes you wish you could take the pain.
Oh, yeah. I've thought that this weekend of anything that, and even future pain, because I know it will happen. Like I look at Stevenson, I look at Stashira, and I'm like, oh, I want to, because right now there's so much innocence with them even understanding what is happening. And I know that down the line, I even think about how some people treat him now. Well, I speak Stevenson in particular because he's 9 and he's so cute and and we adopted him and blah, blah. And there are certain people that look at him and think, oh, so cute. And then in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, what about when he's 18? What about when he's 21? What about when he's walking down the street by himself and looks suspicious? You think he's so cute then? Like, I don't know. I want to take that pain away from what he may experience in the future. But if we start little by little where there needs to be change, then maybe his future doesn't have to be as bad as it is for some people today.
Well, we shall now do a radio show.
Yes, let's do it.
And we also know that you don't come to us for macro social change. However, you do come to us to be humans.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do the best radio show. We feel like we do a really good human show. And so that's what we're going to do. So we're going to have fun today. I think that's what a lot of folks come for. Listen, let's also not forget we're in the middle of a pandemic too. There's a lot of stuff happening. We're here to do all of those things, much like you will live your day today, with some happiness and sadness and anger. And that's what this next 5 hours is going to be, because that's what we do here. We try to live our lives, and we're frustrated, we share it. We're mad, we share it. We're sad, we're happy, we share it. We share it. That's what the show's going to be. So appreciate you for being here. I'm sure this will come up again later, but that's all for now. Let's get started with the show.